What is up, guys? So today I'm going to talk about my next big fight, what I've got coming up. And no, it's not on JDP promotions. It's not an imaginary pay-per-view event. It's a real life fight. What I've got coming up against coming off buprenorphine, and that's what I'm going to talk about today. I'm not going to put a time on it because people like to hold things against you. And, like if I say, I'm coming up for it in the next 2 months, and then in 2 months' time I haven't, then there'll be people in the comments saying, oh, you said you were going to do this, you said you were going to do that, which is what it's like on YouTube. Unfortunately, you do get a lot of support if you're a genuine person, but also you get people that just want to, I don't know, just kind of want to find negatives, but that's fine. I mean, I get people in the comments. Most of it's positive, but you do get negative people. And my thing is, if you watch one of my videos, you can say whatever you want. I'll never delete any comments. I don't think I've ever deleted one comment. Because, like I say, if you watch the video, you can say what you want. But I do get people saying, oh, why are you deleting comments? I've never done that. You say what you want. Free speech on this channel. But yeah, I've got to come off the buprenorphine some point this year, and I'm absolutely terrified because the last detox I did, if you follow me at all, you'll know it almost killed me, and it was so bad because I did it all wrong. I felt like I was out of time. I was massively overweight, and I was dying. And if I hadn't got clean then, there's no doubt in my mind I would be dead now. So I didn't have time to do it properly, go to rehab, taper down, and I don't like rehab anyway, to be fair. Some people thrive in there, but me, I like to be alone when I'm struggling. I don't want to be like if I'm rattling like 3 days into a rattle and they're coming into my room saying, oh, come on, we're baking shepherd's pie. I'm like, fucking shepherd's pie. That's the last thing I want to see. Come on, you've got to do groups and all this. I'm like, mate, fuck off, leave me alone, I'm dying. And then that's how I do my detoxes. But yeah, the last one was so bad. I did it all cold turkey. And I think that every time you do a detox, it takes a little bit of your soul, and because it's that hard, you have to dig down in that well, and you have to keep going to the well over the last like 20 years. I've been there so many times that there's not much left now, And it hurt me so bad. It was fucking months of no sleep and puking and hallucinating, and it's and now I don't know if I've got another one left in me. I'm sure I'll be able to do it. I'm sure I'll get through it. And I went to see my key worker last time. She made a pretty good point. She says, well, all the other times, because I said, look, there's no way around it. I know what I've got to go through. I know I'm going to be awake for fucking 2 weeks straight. I know. I'm an expert on detox, which is sad to say, but and she says, well, have you ever done one from buprenorphine? I said, yeah, I have ages ago, but I didn't do it right. And she says, well, this one you're doing correct, you're doing it properly, and all the times you've done it in the past, have you been in good shape mentally and physically? I was like, no, not really. I've either been thrown in prison or done it against my will, or I've been in a terrible state, and I've done it because I'm desperate, whereas this time I'm doing it because I want to do it. I'm in good physical shape, my mental struggles, so I'm not really firing on all cylinders, but I'm in a good place. So she says, maybe this time it might be a little bit easier because you're in such good shape mentally and physically. So I don't know, maybe she's right, I'm sure. I just know I'm going to have to go through it at some point. But as always, I'll document it. And then that's what I want to do on this channel. I want to show people what it's like. Because addicts, like we've seen with people like the bloated sheriff and JDP, they've got like dim attitudes on heroin addicts. They look down on them like, oh, fucking bagheads, smackheads. And that... It doesn't really bother me that much, but it does bother me a little bit when someone calls me a smackhead. That's why I do the replies, which I always enjoy doing them anyway. It gives me a chance to put out a few jokes, and I never try and be like really mean or nasty. I could do, maybe if somebody really gets to me one day, then I might, I could really pull them apart. But at the moment, it's just been a laugh. It's just been banter. And I did one about Sheriff yesterday. I didn't watch his reply. I'm sure he did one. Just let me know in the comments. Was it any good? Was he funny? Or was he just fat burping, saying, oh, it is what it is. He's a ding. That's as simple as that. Because that's pretty much all he ever says. But yeah, let me know if it were any good. And what I do is I try and show people what it's like living in that world of addiction. It's horrible. And I think some of these people that have a dim view on addicts, they might change their mind if they like lived a day, because they say you've got to walk a mile in somebody's shoes to truly understand what it's like. And I think if the bloated sheriff or JDP just spent a week as an addict, maybe as a prostitute, I don't mean selling his ass, I mean see what those girls go through, because I would say they've probably got it the worst. And they always say, oh, well, it's your choice. There's no way that women choose to go out and sucking crusty old men off and, going out with someone in a car in the back seat and then getting the teeth knocked out and battered and strangled and thrown in a ditch and, day and night after night. Do you think they choose to do that? Of course they don't. They don't want to do that. But they've got to do it because they need the drugs, otherwise they're violently ill. And that's what I do. I try and show people what it's like. And addicts are annoying. I mean, I go to town now and I get people coming up to me, oh, Linda's a quid. Or if it's somebody I used to do drugs with, they think that they're obligated. I feel obligated, They think that you have to give them money because you used to do drugs with them, which I always do. And they are annoying. But, I know what they're going through. And I think they've got life's hard enough without, when you're an addict, it's just a million times worse. And what I will say though is I've caused a lot of misery over my life of being an addict. I've stolen off a lot of people, which I used to go out every day stealing, because you've kind of got like a few options when you're an addict. If you're a woman, you can prostitute. I suppose you could if you're a man, but I don't think there's a market for it. You could sell drugs, which I've done that before. It's a fucking absolute nightmare. Or you can go stealing, shoplifting, and that's what I used to do. I used to go shoplifting, and I worry about karma, because I went out shoplifting to start with, and I was getting caught all the fucking time. It was ridiculous. I mean, I was looking at, I couldn't say how many times I've been arrested and thrown in the police cells, but it's a lot. And I saw my, I don't know what you call it, like a little acro thing that tells you how many times you've been arrested. And this is just like at the halfway point, and I think it was 180 arrests. I was like, fucking hell. And bearing in mind, every arrest for me, I'm in the cells for like 2 days. They'll lock me up like 5 o'clock at night. They'll interview me the next morning and then let me go like tea time or something. So 187 times 2, it's got to be close to a year I've spent in those freaking police cells. And all the coppers back then, now, none of them know me. I haven't been locked up for a while. So I'm sure there might be one or two that will remember me from back in the day, but most of them now won't even know who I am. But back then, everybody knew who I was. I can't really say that I know any of their names, but they all knew my name. And I was there that much. It got to the point where they knew what I wanted. They'll say, oh, Paddy, all right, you're back again, are you? You're going to have to sort your sen out. It's no good, this. What is it, a hot chocolate, 2 sugars? It's just all-day breakfast. It's like they know what I want. I'm there that much. And when everybody knows who you are, when you're wanted, you can't go nowhere. Like, if I went to the shop, a copper had seen me because they all knew who I was, so... It was a nightmare. I was constantly getting locked up, constantly in the police cells. And I would go to prison, do like 4 months, get out, court, locked up, bail, court, locked up, remand, court, remand. And then when they finally catch you, then you've got all the other shoplifting, what you've got away with, but you're on camera. So then you end up with 5 or 6 shoplifting, and then you end up with 8 months, 10 months. And it's an absolute nightmare. And so I stopped doing shoplifting and I switched to commercial burglaries, which was what I used to do. Is I always joke about it and say I was the worst thief in Doncaster. I was terrible. I've been caught so many times. But the truth is I was actually quite good at it. I just don't like saying it, you know. I wish I could Thanos snap it all away, but I can't. You know, I did that stuff, and I've got to live with that now. And I used to get dressed, put on a shirt, a tie, and slick my hair back. I looked like the world's scruffiest businessman. And I used to walk into businesses, like if somebody had left the fire door open in the summer, I would walk in, and if there was an empty room, I'd take the computer monitor or whatever I could find, and again, I'd get away with it on the spot, but then they'd have me on camera, because you don't care about the consequences. All you need is money now, and you don't care about consequences. So I would be out for like 6 months, and then I would get caught, and they'd have like 5 or 6 commercial burglaries for me, and they'd just slam me with a lot, and then I'd end up with like 4 year, 3 year, 18 months, and that's what it's like in that world, just getting locked up all the time, and it's miserable, and I worry about karma, because I caused a lot of misery, and karma's real, man. I saw it yesterday. There's 2 lads, which obviously I'm not going to name, but I remember them from when they were addicts, and there was real horrible people. There was bullies. They must beat up loads of people. They were always ripping people off or robbing people. There was type of people where you'd say, yeah, come in. You'd invite them in. You'd share your drugs with them. Give them some new clothes. Let them sleep on the settee. And then the next morning you'd wake up and everything's gone. They've stole everything. And that's what these 2 were like. And they was always beating people up. They always had black eyes from getting beat up because they've ripped people off. And one of them can't walk. He's got to use crutches. He looks like he's just been dug up out of the ground. He looks 10 times worse than Scotty G, you know, just real bad. All his teeth are manky. He looks like he's 90 years old. He looks worse than the sheriff, which is unbelievable. And the other one's in a wheelchair. And he was still with the drama, you know. There was a video, it was just surfaced, and he's in it in Doncaster town centre, and he's with some dude who's, I don't know who this other guy was, but he was mouthing off, he was drunk, and he was throwing punches at people. So then he threw a punch at someone, and they just fucking knocked him out, hit him with a hook, and just laid him clean out. And so he's still involved in the drama, still around people getting beat up and causing trouble, and like I said, one of them's on crutches and one of them's in a wheelchair, because that's karma. And I constantly worry about it, because I've caused a lot of misery in my life, you know. And when I was growing up, just the fact that you were an addict could get you beat up. There was vigilantes going around and just beating people up just because they were heroin addicts. And it was, I always remember one kid. He was a well respected fighter around Doncaster, and he come after me. I managed to get away, but he was like lunging at me, trying to punch me, saying, "Ah, you fucking smackhead! I'll fucking smack your head." And he was so full of hate and just charging at me, but I got away. And now he's a smackhead, you know. So it's all right pointing the finger and calling people names, but everybody out there is just one decision away from being a heroin addict. I know when I was growing up, now you've got people like me showing you what it's like, you know, warning people what a horrible, miserable world it is. But I didn't have that when I was younger. We didn't have the internet, we didn't have phones, nobody really knew. I mean, they said heroin was bad, but nobody knew to what extent, because they said ecstasy was bad. And I had the best times of my life on ecstasy. It was fucking brilliant. It was amazing. It was a great culture, great dance scene. It was the best time of my life by a mile. And so they said that was bad. And so we knew heroin was bad, but we didn't know how bad. And by the time I realised how bad it was too late. I was already in there, and I just couldn't see a way out. I just couldn't. I think back now, and I think, why didn't you get out of it? Why didn't you just, you know, detox and get away from it? But I don't know. I still don't know to this day why I didn't just get out of it. I couldn't. I was trapped. So yeah, I've got a buprenorphine, which I've over the years, over 20 odd years of heroin addiction and crack addiction and alcoholism. The only thing that worked for me, you know, I've tried everything, methadone. I've never used needles, and I've never used spice, but pretty much everything else, I've been there. And nothing worked for me. I was on methadone, but I was using on top. I tried DFs, I tried every fucking trick I could to get off of drugs, and I just couldn't do it. And then the only one that worked for heroin addiction was buprenorphine, Subutex, because it's a blocker. It's not like methadone. You drink methadone and you just don't detox. You know, you just swap in heroin for methadone, which is free from the doctors. So all you have to do is drink it in the morning, and that holds you all throughout the day, and then you just have another drink tomorrow. But a lot of addicts tend to use on top because of the boredom. And then you have to detox off methadone, which is the worst detox of them all, in my opinion. But buprenorphine, it's got a bit of, I don't know what it's got in it, but it's got blocker in it. So I guess it's like half methadone tablet form and half blocker, naltrexone. So if you take the Subutex, it blocks the effects of heroin, so there's no point using it. So it takes away the temptation. That's why I stayed on it when I detoxed cold turkey from all that other stuff. I stayed on Subutex just to take away that temptation, because I know I can go out and buy heroin and it won't do it, so there's no point. So that is the only thing that worked for me. But you do have to detox off it. It's not as bad as methadone and all those others, but it is pretty bad. There's no way around it. But you can maintain a somewhat healthy life whilst you're on it, whilst you get your sin sorted out, and then once you get sorted out, then you can detox off it. And that's what I'm gonna do. That's where I'm at now. But like I said, the last detox was so fucking bad. I was just fucking terrified. I know what I've got coming. You know, the sneezing, the stomach cramps, the headache, the nose. The worst part is not sleeping, because it's like you're suffering all day and then you're suffering all night as well. So one day becomes 2 days. Like when you've got flu or when you're ill, you just get your head down, you know, and sleep through it. But you can't do that with heroin and with Subutex and whatever. So it's twice as long, and when you're not sleeping and you're not eating, your body's not getting the goodness it needs. So all your senses get heightened. So you feel everything like when you've got a hangover. You feel everything twice as bad. You know, you can hear things you don't normally hear. You can smell things you couldn't normally smell. And I remember that last detox I did. I think it was the first or second night, I was so ill, and then somebody decided to cook using garlic. I was like, oh my God, you know what I mean? Never used garlic before, or at least I've never smelled it before. Maybe it's because my senses were heightened, but oh man, it hit me. The smell of garlic, and I was like, ugh, it just fucking made me, I was puking there, and it made me, oh, it was horrible. That's what, I can't even stand the smell of garlic now. Absolutely vile. But yeah, that's my next fight coming up, the one against buprenorphine, hopefully this year, but I'm not gonna swear by it because I might not be able to do it, but hopefully I can. As always, I'll make a video about it and talk about it, and that's kind of why it annoys me when people say, oh, you fucking smackhead, because you've got no idea, you don't know what it's like waking up living in doorways, and you don't know what it's like waking up in a police cell or living in crack dens and seeing people get battered and stabbed and fucking getting taxed and robbed, and you know, that's just the physical. Then you've got all the embarrassment of being that guy, and you've got all this shame, and you've got to worry about karma, and you've got to worry, and then you get the anxiety and the depression, and you know, knowing that you've got to go through all that day after day after day, and then you get some fat fucking dummy coming on with, yeah, fucking smackhead, and I just think, oh, fuck you, man. What have you given to life? What are you contributing to society other than just being a fat fucking loser? But anyway, I'm not going to get into that. Yeah, that's what it's like. That's my next fight. Hopefully I can make it. I guess time will tell. But anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video. Like the video, press the thumbs up, subscribe to the channel. Yeah, fromage frais.